Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here along with Pete.
Yo.
And today, guys, before we get started, I'm talking about draft lottery and the odds of each and every team. Go and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Also, remember to go check out our Fixer Upper videos. We'll make sure to have one out next week on a different team. But for now, we're talking about some draft lottery, which is going to be happening on tonight on ESPN before the Eastern Conference Final Game 2. We got some teams to discuss, but let's go over the teams that are in this draft lottery.
Yes.
First team, of course, the Phoenix Suns. We're just going to go in order of the potential odds. So Phoenix Suns number one. Their number one pick odds is 25%, with the top three pick odds at 64%. Peter, how important is it for the Phoenix Suns to get not only the number one pick, but a top three pick? Because they have been unlucky before.
All these teams, it's important, right? But I think out of, let's just say out of the top three teams of Phoenix, Memphis, and Dallas, I do think they have the best player out of the three of them. So if they were to drop to 2 or 3, I think they're still going to be all right.
Yeah.
Of course they want the number one pick so they can get their pick. But at the end of the day, they're the one team out of those three that can slip to 2 or 3 and still walk away pretty happy.
Yeah, I think they're one of those teams that, like you said, they can be happy with getting a top three pick. The problem is they have been unlucky before in the past.
Yep.
They've gotten out of the lottery, or not the lottery, but the top three pick before. They've drafted very poorly in some instances. Not in every case, but in some cases, you have your Alex Lenz, which is just
bad.
That pick just still boggles my mind when you picked him. But anyway, they have some decent options for the top three picks. Obviously, you have Ayton and Doncic.
Yeah, clear number 1 and 2. And then for some reason, Jaren Jackson has really moved up to number 3 for most people. I still I think he's going to be a great NBA player, but he was pretty terrible in the March Madness tournament.
Yeah.
So I get it. He's very NBA ready. So we'll see. He's just a big guy moving up in the draft. I just am starting to get this weird sinking. This is just me being I have a bad feeling that maybe DeAndre Ayton, he's a super athlete. I just get a little worried that somebody's going to take him number 1, and then Doncic, if you guys have watched the channel, I've been very high on Doncic for a while. I think whoever takes Ayton number 1 over Doncic, if it does happen, they're going to be pretty unhappy with their pick in about 6 months.
I think they'll be fine. I think Ayton's a very hybrid athlete at the center position.
Yeah.
He can shoot the three ball very well. He can play inside. He's a great defender. I think he's a very versatile player, unlike what we have before in other players. He's almost, I don't want to compare him to Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid is still very young, and I don't like to compare people now. But he's one of those players I feel like could potentially be at that level very soon. Yeah. In a couple years. So I think whether you get Ayton, whether you get Doncic, I think those two are just the clear number 1 and 2 picks in the whole draft right now that I think could potentially help a team immediately.
Yeah.
But it's just going to go to show who's going to be better. Is it going to be the point forward in Luka Doncic, or is it going to be the center in DeAndre Ayton?
I'm not going to say Ayton's going to be bad. I just have a feeling that Doncic is going to be so good that anybody who takes anyone over him is going to be just sad at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about it. Number 2, Memphis Grizzlies. I have a weird feeling with the Memphis Grizzlies. They really need this top 3 pick, but they just seem like they're such an unlucky team right now that they might just end up falling out of the top 3.
Yeah, they have a 90% odds of getting the number 1 pick, and obviously a top 3 pick, they have 55.8%. Obviously, the percentages are on their side, but like you said, I think with the recent transactions that have expired with the Grizzlies, the hiring of David Fitzdale, all this other unlucky stuff with injuries to Mike Conley, I think karma's going to come bite them in the butt for firing Fitzdale, and they're not going to be in the top 3.
That's exactly how I feel. I just feel like this team is just in such a weird place of unluckiness in just bad juju, so to say. I hope I'm wrong, because honestly, I think the Memphis Grizzlies need a winner here more than any team in the draft. They have really nothing to their names other than a bunch of old dudes. They have Marc Gasol, Mike Conley, Chandler Parsons, who doesn't even play anymore, and they're owed $200 million between the three of them. Those guys can't play for that much longer, based on just injuries and age. They really need something good in this draft. So they need that 1 or 2.
I mean, it's just we're gonna see what happened with the Memphis Grizzlies. Next, we got to talk about is, of course, the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep.
The likely number spot is number 3, according to ESPN, with the number 1 pick odds at 13.8, so very low.
Mm-hmm.
With their top 3 pick odds at 42.6%. Dallas Mavericks, I have a feeling that they're going to get a top 2 pick.
I have a feeling they are too.
Mark Cuban, I feel like, is going to do something.
The Mark Cuban bribery.
Now that sports betting is now becoming legal, there could be some finessing there.
See, Adam Silver just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would like be shady, though. I have faith in Adam Silver.
I mean,
whereas like past NBA GMs, other GMs of other leagues, I have very little faith in.
Yeah, I mean, the Roger Goodell's probably one of the worst commissioners, but going back to like this and talking about Adam Silver and all this, I don't think he just doesn't appear to be that way. But I just feel like the Dallas Mavericks are somehow gonna get the luck of the ping pong ball and get a top 2 pick. Obviously, the number 3 pick, which is where they're positioned here on ESPN, they're supposed to get Jaren Jackson Jr. Like we talked about earlier in the video, we're not so high on him like most of these other teams are.
Yeah. It's all fit. Like, he's very defensive minded. You know, he can score too, but I think he would be a mistake at the number 3 pick. Like, I think you need to take like not necessarily a shot at somebody, but you got to go like the most upside you can get. And I think like if you're gonna take a center after Ayton, I think it's Bagley in my opinion.
I mean, with Bagley, I just get that, like I talked about in a different video, I just get that Jahlil Okafor type of vibe from him. A more athletic Jahlil Okafor, but at the same time, very offensive-minded player. Defense lacking a little bit.
He could shoot, though.
He can shoot, but I'm still not convinced him as the number 3.
Yeah.
I honestly would probably go Mo Bamba.
Ooh, yeah. See, no, thank you.
I think a defensive player would be great to pair up with a Dennis Smith Jr.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
But Jaren Jackson, I feel like, is way too high right now on everybody's list. I think a lot of people see the potential upside with him, but me, I'm not seeing it.
I just don't like it. This is kind of one of those things where, like, everybody all of a sudden, this guy is the best two-way prospect in the draft. Like, all of a sudden, right? The last game he played in March Madness of his college basketball career was against my beloved Syracuse, and he was absolutely horrendous, right? So, like, where is this all of a sudden coming from? Yeah. This happens in every single sport, in every draft, and this is, like, Jaren Jackson's the guy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of happened with the NFL with Josh Allen. He kind of came out of nowhere. Obviously, he played at Wyoming. He transferred from a different school. I don't remember which one. But then all of a sudden, he got the buzz because he has the arm strength and all this other stuff, and you're just looking at it like, Josh Allen, really?
Like, whoa.
So I think he's just in that position right now. Even though Michigan State's a well-known school and everyone knows about them, it's just he had kind of an inconsistent year, I would say. But Jaren Jackson at number 3, I'm not feeling it.
I mean, last thing on Jaren Jackson, you know, there is the potential that he turns into like maybe a slightly more athletic Al Horford style, like defensive player who can sort of like help run an offense. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But like we said, Dallas Mavericks just feel like one of those teams that's going to get lucky, get in the 1 and 2 area. Atlanta Hawks, number 4, Bernie.
Yep.
13.7% for the number 1 pick, 42.6% for the top 3. Basically the same as Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised if they're, you know, right where they are. Basically, like they just seem like what's going on with Atlanta? I just don't even know.
Yeah, I think after they won the 60 games and after Mike Budenholzer decided to leave, they've completely wanted to revamp the roster. They want to change everything about it. There's also rumors that Dennis Schroeder, I should say, is looking to get a trade because he wants to spend his prime with a contending team or a team that's at least trying to get into the playoffs. So I think you could do a little interesting thing here with maybe a couple of the teams up ahead. Maybe you finesse a deal with the Phoenix Suns if they get top 2 pick. You trade Dennis Schroeder and the number 4 pick, whatever it is, to get the number 1 pick.
Ooh, I don't know why. Maybe. It depends on the team. I don't think Phoenix would take that, though, because I don't think they want Schroeder. But maybe, like, Dallas might.
No, because Dallas already has Dennis Smith. I only say the Phoenix Suns because I believe that the Phoenix Suns don't really like a point guard that they have. on their team.
None of them are good.
So I think with that, you could definitely... I think the Phoenix Suns would probably be a little bit better with that, even though they wouldn't get their players. But depending on who of these other guys draft, you never know. You can bank on the fact that one of these teams is going to reach for a player.
They might, yeah. I mean, I don't think Atlanta's going to trade really anything other than Schroeder. Like, this team has really nothing, you know? Because who did they get in the draft last year? I'm trying to even think of what
Collins.
Yeah, so they got Collins, who had his moments.
He's good. He's not like... He's almost in the same echelons as like a De'Aaron Fox type of thing. Like, very inconsistent in some cases, but you can see the potential
There's
in
upside there, certainly. But other than him, really, that team doesn't have much to its name.
Other than the Migos.
The Migos co-signing Atlanta Hawks basketball, maybe sometimes.
They can come and play.
I sign Quavo. He'll just knock somebody out on the court, basically. Orlando Magic. This is another team. They're at number 5. Number 1 pick odds at 8.8%, 29.1 for a top 3. What do we see with the Orlando Magic?
They need to pray that they get into the top 3. It's not like in this pot they'd be bad. I think I had them in my mock draft. I think they got Marvin Bagley to team up with Aaron Gordon. But I think since you don't really have a point guard, you probably take a risk.
We might reach for like Trae Young.
You might reach for Trae Young or Colin Sexton, depending on which one you like better. I don't know what the Orlando Magic draft board is looking like, but that's probably the 2 guys I'd probably try and reach for. Build the team with the point guard, and you already have Aaron Gordon, who's your leaper, your power forward. You're basically the star of your team. I think you just reach for one of the point guards.
Well, I agree. I think Orlando seems like the team that is in the most likely position to reach for a player, just because they really need a bright spot, and they what's their point guard situation? They need somebody. So Trae Young might be the guy, and then if he turns out to be the Trae Young that people thought he was going to be the first half of college basketball season, you hit a winner, Yeah. But then if he's just average, you took your shot, You shot your shot, didn't quite work out, but that's the Orlando Magic way.
Let's first off start with the Cleveland Cavaliers, number 8 pick. They have a 2.8% chance of getting the number 1 pick, which they've had before. And they also have a 9.9% of getting in the top 3. ESPN says they're going to get Trae Young from Oklahoma. What do we think of this?
I don't think Trae Young's going to Cleveland, personally. I think if they have any hope of keeping LeBron James, they need to take the most NBA-ready player they can get at that point in the draft. And if they do, in fact, get the number 8 position, I think you have to take Bridges from Villanova, just a 3-and-D wing to pair up with LeBron James. If you have the hopes of keeping him, that's the kind of player he needs around him. And he's a junior, just finished his junior year in college. He's clearly NBA ready. That's the guy. If I'm Cleveland, that's what I'm taking.
Cleveland, like we talked about, I probably would go Trae Young. I think I said about it in my mock draft. Whether you have him with LeBron, he's a point guard that can get a quick shot. He can get his own shot, a shot creator, and also a very nice passer. Especially in college, he was the leading leader in passing and assists per game. I think he's a good fit there. But if they were to get, let's say, a top 3 pick, let's say they get number 1. 1 through 3. What are the options you think that they could go? So number 1, who do you think they would go for?
They have to take Ayton. Number 1. Ayton, it's not even a question, and that's not... that flies in the face of my Luka Doncic stanisms. I think he's so far and away the best player in this draft. Any other team, I would want to take Doncic, but they need a center, so bad. Tristan Thompson had 1 good game this playoff so far, and people were like, oh my God, Tristan Thompson's back from the depths, Not really. He's still Tristan Thompson. He's still the 2018 version of Tristan Thompson we thought he was. They really need a big athletic center to pair up with LeBron. And if LeBron does leave, then you have Ayton, and he can play on a bad team for a year or 2. Can learn some stuff from Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love for a year or 2. That's the guy.
Yeah, I think Ayton's the number 1 pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers if they were to land him. Number 2 if they were to get the number 2 pick.
Well, then it's got to be Doncic, right? And then you could do the thing where, like, if LeBron really doesn't want to be the main ball handler anymore, that's kind of one of the biggest upsides for Doncic is that he can play the point forward. And maybe LeBron could be his mentor as far as, like, being one of the, primary contributors to that style of basketball. He can teach him,
I agree. I think Doncic is obviously the number 2 pick. If the Phoenix Suns were to get the number 1, Cavs number 2, I just think it just makes a lot more sense for it. Luka Doncic is a player that can handle the ball. He's a nice shooter. He can create his own shot. I think him and Ayton are obviously years and above everyone else in this draft in terms of being NBA ready.
Yeah.
Everyone else needs a little bit of time. But now let's move on to New York Knicks, who obviously have a 1.7% chance of getting the number 1 pick and a 6.1% chance of getting the top 3 pick. If they were to get the number 1 pick, I think I know who you would go for.
It's Doncic. Doncic 1, 2, 3. Like any chance we could get him, he'd be the perfect fit for Porzingis. ESPN says if they were to get the number 1, they should take Ayton. I strongly disagree. Like, you have Porzingis, and I know he doesn't always want to play the center, but I really think at the end of the day, Porzingis is a 5. Like, if you're going by positional basketball, which I know that's not really the way the NBA works anymore, that is what Porzingis should play. He's a shot blocker. He's just, like, he's perfect by the rim. So, like, let's go for a guy who can run the offense, which Frank Ntilikina clearly that's not his forte as a player. Luka Doncic is the guy.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you here. Luka Doncic has to be the number 1 pick, number 2 or number 3. Probably 1 or 2, because if they get 3, I think those 2 are gone. But Luka Doncic is obviously the pick for the New York Knicks. He's a point forward. He can ease the pressure off of Ntilikina, who's more of a defensive-minded guy. He can focus more on that. Doncic will give you the offense that you're looking for, along with Porzingis when he returns and comes back healthy. It just sucks to see that Porzingis isn't going to be back in time to really get a chemistry with this guy.
For this next season.
But I mean, for the rest of their careers, they will. But it just sucks that they won't do it so early. Because maybe, late playoff push, like we talked about in the New York Knicks rebuild. I mean, he could definitely help this team a lot more. Like I talked about, Doncic, Ayton, most NBA-ready guys in the draft. Nothing else needs to be said.
I'll tell you this right now, Bernie. If by some miracle the Knicks get the 1 or 2 pick and get Doncic, I will buy his jersey tonight.
Tonight, okay.
I will figure out a website that will custom make the jersey, because we won't even have picked him yet, but I'll just be ready for it, right? I'll have the tab open on my computer to purchase it, right? What do you think they should take if they get the number 9 pick, though?
Number 9 pick, if he's there, you probably take Colin Sexton.
Probably.
Because he's one of those guys that probably, like you talked about, one of the safer picks. But thinking about it now, if I'm the New York Knicks, I'm David Fizdale, why not take a risk? Why not? Because you're obviously, if your team is not going to be good, you're not going to get the free agents that you want to sign that we talked about in our rebuild fixer-upper. Why not take a chance on a guy like Trae Young? You missed out on a guy like Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Take a chance.
I see what you're saying, but, like, just as a Knicks fan, like, I know, and I am still so sad about the Steph Curry isms of the Knicks, but I would just take Colin Sexton. Just he's clear offensive talent. Just put him there with Frank Ntilikina, and then you got solid 1-2 for the future. It is what it is.
Next we have to talk about is, of course, the most unluckiest franchise probably in middle card purgatory. They're always in the lottery, it feels like. I can't remember the last time they got out of it. And that was, of course, the Charlotte Hornets. Yeah. Likely going to be the number 11th pick. They have a 0.8% chance of getting number 1 and a 2.9% chance of getting the top 3 pick. Charlotte Hornets, what are we feeling about them?
The least likely team to slip into the top 3 of all the teams that have a chance. Man, this team has a lot to worry about for the future because of their contract situations. But this is a team that if, like, a guy like Trae Young is available, like, you have to take a risk on it. You just got it. It's the same thing with the Magic. Like, there's a lot of negatives to be gleaned from the Charlotte Hornets roster and the pay structure of a lot of these players they have. So this is where you take a chance on a guy who could be like a generational scoring talent, which could be Trae Young if he pans out to be the best version of himself.
Yeah, I think with Charlotte, you probably want to take a risk. I don't think Trae Young is going to be at number 11. I think he'll go much higher. Honestly, with the Charlotte Hornets, I just don't see anybody that they could get. Maybe Miles Bridges.
Maybe. Somebody's gonna slip though, right? It could be Trae Young. It might even be like a guy like Michael Porter.
I think it might be one of the centers. I think one of the centers is gonna really slip.
Like Bagley might slip. It might even be
Bamba might slip if they don't really because defense. Although we talk about guys like Rudy Gobert and all those guys, they were drafted like number 27. Obviously, Rudy Gobert is not a well-known name.
Yeah.
Up until this point, where he became one of the best defensive players in the current NBA. But I just feel like with Bamba, he's not a bad player. He's still good, but I think he's just so offensively flawed right now that teams are going to be a little bit weary of. And I feel like and fear that for him, they're going to be weary of that. And they're going to be like, let's just take the most offensive guy because they believe that offense wins championships, the analytic stuff.
Yeah, maybe. He might. Maybe Wendell Carter, too. You never know. There's going to be this draft is really deep at the end of the day. So, whatever the chances may be, I do think Charlotte is going to stick where they're at now. Number 11 is probably what they're going to get. You just got to take the best chance you can get to get a star player.
Yeah. But if they were to get a top 3, let's say number 1, who do they go for?
Man, they just need everything. They need every position, right? So I think I would go with the best player. It's Doncic. That's who I would take.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a stan. What can I say?
Yeah, it's just tough because, like you said, they need pretty much everything. Obviously, they have Kemba Walker, but, he has one more season left. I don't think he's going to re-sign a contract extension.
I think they should just trade him and get a pick.
If they can move up?
If they can move up with Kemba, I think you do it. Like a top 7 pick, maybe top 6. Or if you can just get more first-round picks out of him.
Because I think if you try and trade to get up to at least, let's say top 6, 7, getting there, I think you should probably go after a guy like Michael Porter.
Yeah, maybe.
He's a small forward. Obviously, Doncic would be the number 1 small forward that you would go for. But since he's going to be gone, why not go for a guy like Michael Porter? Obviously, he was injured this season, so we didn't really get to see much. And in the tournament, he just kind of played like he did, like he just came back from an injury. Take a chance on him, see if he's going to develop into anything.
He has a chance.
I mean, we see that the 30 for 30 Michael Jordan documentary is going to be coming out.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Maybe Adam Silver's like, you know what, Michael Jordan, I'm tired of seeing you in this situation that you're in. Let's move you up to the top 3.
It could happen. Michael Jordan, who knows,
Yeah.
He's got some major pull within the league. Maybe that was part of his contract to get that 10-hour, 10-part documentary for Netflix. Who knows? Any other teams we need to talk about?
I think that's going to be it. I don't see any other team. Let us know in the comments down below. What do you guys think of our suggestions for each team? Also, the likely odds. If you are a fan of any of the teams that we just mentioned, how likely is it that you are to get the top 3 pick for yourself? And who would you go for with that pick?
Let me just ask you one last quick question, Bernie, just for the sake, right?
Okay.
I think there's a good chance that one of those number 3 spots gets picked up by a team that gets really lucky, right? It happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think, if there's any team that slips into that top 3, who do you think it could be?
Oh, man, this is tough. But I think if any is going to happen, I think it's either going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I think it's going to be Cleveland. They just seem
they just have that aura about them because they know. I think the NBA knows that Cleveland is going to be really screwed, especially if LeBron decides to leave.
They got the cheat code.
They just, phone Adam Silver. They say break in case of emergency. They're going to break it, call the phone, put Adam Silver on the line. Dan Gilbert's going to be whining and complaining, and they're going to get a top 3 pick.
My heart wants to say the Knicks, but it's Cleveland. It really is Cleveland. Or It could be like Boston, right? They could get super lucky.
I mean, they'd have to get really lucky.
They'd have to get really lucky. But look at the way their season's gone. It's been a whole string of unluckiness with lots of luck in there too, with their young players coming through and turning out to be incredible. It could be just the culmination of a crazy season for Boston to get that really high top pick.
I mean, it could be, but more than likely, I think we're not going to get it. I think Cleveland is obviously the number one team outside of the top 6 or 7, or actually out of the top 5, I should say, that have the most likely chance of getting it. Even though the percentages don't tell you that, it just feels that way in your heart to heart because you know Cleveland's past drafts and how lucky they have gotten throughout the years.
Not even a Cleveland fan, and it would make me sad at first if they did get like a top 3 pick, but then I think I'd be probably pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, because then I think it gives LeBron James a more likely chance of staying.
Yeah, I mean, certainly.
Because you could trade that pick.
You could certainly trade it for something. It could turn into something or just an incredible player. Tell us what you guys think. Please hit that like and subscribe button. This has been your boy Pete. That's Bernie. Peace.
Peace.